I'm not playing around. Only adults can watch this video. Viewer discretion is advised. Well, hello there, my friends. Welcome back to the show. Thank you very much for being here. I'm like fiddling around with stuff as we get started. Thank you for being here. My name's Gavin. This is my channel. Boy, it has been a busy day at work today. I just got home in time to get Elizabeth here and ready to go. So we're going to have Elizabeth join us in just a moment. But before we do, I want to do a quick plug. You guys saw baby Gavin in his little exerciser. Well, baby Gavin might go missing, and we don't want that, right? The great 2025 Baby Gavin treasure hunt begins on Monday. It's a game that we're all going to play together. I've got clues spread about my YouTube channel, my website, my Facebook page, my all sorts of things. And we're giving away prizes and everything. Registration and the game opens on Monday. I hope you will join us for that. And part of it is going to be some activity on the fish tank. If you are not a member of the fish tank already, please go ahead and join that if you're on Facebook. If you don't have Facebook, listen, I get it, but you're going to need to clan up with somebody who is on Facebook, all right? Because there will be clues on Facebook. So I just want to give you that heads up, and I'm really, really excited for that to happen. Okay, tonight we are talking about the case of Kevin Mullins, and I want to welcome back to the show Elizabeth Jones from Hillbilly Crime. Elizabeth, welcome back.
Thanks for having me, Fish. How
You
you
are a
doing?
channel favorite. You are just the channel favorite, and we were just talking before we started. You are within spitting distance of 20,000 subscribers. So, people, if you haven't gone and subscribed to Elizabeth's channel, there's a link in the description below. Go subscribe. Help her get to $20,000, 20,000 subs. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness. Pretty exciting stuff.
it is. We counted them right before we came on, and we are at 19,542.
Getting close. That's a big
Oh,
that's a big milestone.
it
That's
is. It
rad.
is. And we've done it pretty fast
Oh my
too.
goodness, yes.
I've heard it takes a long time to do what we've
Oh, it took
done.
me years to get to 20,000 subscribers. It took me like 3 years to do that.
Wow.
So yeah, you're doing really well, and you're the reason you're doing well is because you're making good content and you're having fun and you're entertaining people. You're covering cases that people want to talk about. So yeah, you're doing great. And guys, if you haven't subscribed, head on over there and do that. All right, Elizabeth. I reached out to you a couple days ago with a video that I had seen from the Civil Rights Lawyer, which is a channel that I subscribe to. I love that channel. I'm
Me
I'm
too.
not the only one. He has like 16 gajillion subscribers. We love his channel. And it's about a scandal that is happening within the Kentucky State Police. And I sent it over to you. I'm like, check this out. And you're like, yep, we did a video on it yesterday. But tell us, I mean, the first thing that I thought is like, dude, was Mickey Stines right to be afraid for his safety, for his life being put into the custody of the Kentucky State Police? Did he know what was going on with the Staties? And was he right to be afraid?
Well, it kind of it makes you wonder. I think we wouldn't be doing our due diligence if we didn't ask those questions, right? Um, so the way that I see, they've filed a couple civil suits against the state police. I guess it's against Pacific troopers.
Yeah.
Um, but they are accusing the cover up of going all the way to the top. All the way to the
Oh, the
top.
very like the commissioner of the Kentucky
Yeah.
State Police.
Yes,
The
absolutely.
boss.
The boss. And they are not um, quiet about saying that. They've
Yeah. Well, one of the
said that.
things I saw was there's one particular trooper, like I'm laughing because it's incredible, not because it's funny, right? But there's this one
Mhm.
particular trooper that has so many excessive force complaints against him. All like he had
Yep.
so many use of force cases that he was one of the very first troopers that got body cam equipment because they're like, but that dude got like 5 complaints that were on video that were definitely excessive force. Like guys, disturbing, not like excessive force. And
Mhm.
the now commissioner of the KSP that very year, like nominated him for Trooper of the Year, and he won.
There were two police officers, the same one that that got the Trooper of the Year. He was caught lying on the stand
Yeah,
before he was given Trooper of the Year. They ended up keeping him, and they fired or got rid of the other one. The other, I don't remember what his name was, but he was another police officer. So one of them got disciplined and ended up losing his job and can never work as a police officer again in the state of Kentucky for the rest of his life. And the other one gets Trooper of the Year.
Trooper of the Year, and he was caught perjuring himself.
Yes. And it
I mean,
makes me wonder, who's he related to?
that does seem to be that does seem to be like the linchpin, right? There's
Yeah. Who-
there's some
Who's he
protection
related
in there.
to?
Well, one of the troopers, I believe that has been, I guess, swept up into this scandal is the very trooper that was questioning Mickey Stines. Is that am I remembering that correctly?
Well, he was in a different scandal. So I found this case a couple days. Actually, somebody sent it to me in my email. I wasn't aware of it. And now I know that I don't know that trooper specifically personally, but I went to church with his family too. He comes from a fantastic family. The trooper that was questioning Mickey.
I want to see if I have the right this guy. I
Well,
mean, I it's his body
it's
worn camera, right? Yeah,
yeah, his name is Anthony Troder. And I also somebody else asked me too. I wonder who the trooper was. Remember when we heard the cop laughing in the cop car on the way to the jail or on the way to the courthouse, the
yeah,
shooting, and
yeah.
he was kind of giggling and laughing. Well, somebody just shot Mullins. It made me wonder. Somebody asked me, which police officer was that? Well, that was one of the state troopers. I don't know who that was. And so I would like to find out whose body cam or whose footage that was from that um, police cruiser. But anyway, Trotter, getting back to Trotter, the article stated it was back in 2020. So that wasn't very long ago.
Yeah.
I just kind of suspected that they used his picture from when he first entered the state police because the picture made it kind of look like it was 20 years ago.
He
But
was 30 years old or something, yeah.
yeah, but it was only in 2020. So I kind of thought that was a little bit deceiving. Um, but there were four police officers or state troopers who were caught buying steroids, injectables from Florida, from some doctor in Florida
Yeah.
that they had never met. So I don't know if that was like a telehealth thing. I have no idea. But all of the other three officers were um, uh, they were disciplined, and I think they all lost their jobs. I think Trotter was the only one that made it through all of that, and he said that he didn't know that it was illegal. So, and this
To do steroids and order them from a pill mill.
that was it. He didn't know that that part was illegal, but he didn't get disciplined. He made it through. He squeaked through, and the it seems like the higher ups, they backed him. But he's
Yeah.
a good dude. From all that I know of him, He does seem to be a good. At least he comes from a really great family.
Well, that's a that okay. Like that's great. I mean, that's great because we do like good cops. We hate bad cops. Now, I don't
Right.
hate anyone, but it's like we definitely don't want bad cops. Um,
Well,
but
I did a glowing review on him, and then the next day I found that article,
oh,
and I
really? Well, as a police officer, you are trained in you're not trained in the law as a lawyer, but you're trained in like the section of the state statutes dealing with law enforcement, right? They need and they have to be able to understand they have to be able to look up statutes and understand what they mean. You can't tell me you didn't know it was illegal to order to order steroids from out of town, out of state.
yeah.
Come
We've
on.
had we've had a really bad problem with that in this area. Like we've had teachers and coaches who've been caught selling illegal pills and steroids and stuff like that to high school students, to
That is
athletes.
scary. That is
And,
scary.
two of them specifically got charged like 20 years ago, was indicted. It was a huge deal. And, now one of them is still, he's a big time referee in this area. Like, it pays to know people,
He
it
he
pays to
was
know people.
convicted of giving pills to high school students and he is currently a referee.
Mhm. I don't want to go too far with that because he refs
Yeah.
my kids' ball games.
Yeah,
But
that's nuts.
It is. It is. It absolutely is. And, there have there have been a lot of concerns. People have spoken up. You know, you have certain ones. Methamphetamine is a really, really big problem here. Okay.
Yeah.
And you have people who are functioning addicts. And so, if you've got professional people, I mean, you look, our neighboring county's prosecutor apparently was a meth addict and, was getting people who he was prosecuting, defendants that he was prosecuting. He was making them bring him drugs and give sexual favors. And he was gay. So
Oh my goodness.
he was doing this to straight men who were defendants. Now, I don't mean to sound weird or anything, but I just believe like if you are a straight man and your prosecutor was gay and he was making you do these things, like I could not even imagine the trauma
Mm.
that would come from that.
Well, it's
Because
definitely yeah, well, it's definitely SA and then the same sex component of it for somebody who is straight. That I mean, well, it'd be true the other way around too, right?
yeah,
The
yeah,
yeah, that trauma would stick with you and I mean and that is the reason it is SA that what is the power differential there, right? The
coercion.
amount yeah, yeah, that's happening in neighboring counties too. It's not just Letcher County in Kentucky that has these problems.
Yeah, but that was the FBI's investigation onto his specific case. And what did you think he got? He got honest services fraud is what he was charged with and what he pled to. Where are the sex abuse charges?
Yeah.
Where are the drug charges? He will never be on the sex offender registry. All he got was 4.5 years for honest services fraud. And that was our FBI that came in and did that investigation. So that also, and not just that case, but I kind of feel like the FBI thinks, oh, well, we'll come in and we'll do these investigations and this is how we're going to handle it. But, and nothing will be said about it. But when you do that for case after case after case, you end up establishing a pattern of
Yeah.
leniency for these corruption cases, that if they had investigated them properly and even charged them appropriately, it might, all of these little separate cases might have started to bring those the web together of this organized crime ring that I think we're looking at in eastern Kentucky.
Oh man. You know that the public trust, that's an important component in all this. I was talking with a law enforcement officer today here in Western Pennsylvania, in one of the counties that we serve in my day job. They, the warden and the deputy warden of the county jail retired suddenly together, same day.
Hmm.
And of course, the rumor mill started going. And oftentimes, by the way, those rumors turn out to be right, you know? Um, so people are reaching out to me as the guy that is interested in this sort of stuff in our area, the area that we cover. And I went and started, investigating, talking to the county commissioners, talking to the prison board, talking to, making calls to law enforcement, the police, the sheriffs, anyway. So I talked with so many people on this. And one of the guys that I talked with, who's a law enforcement officer who has a very good reputation, who has spent more than 2 decades in that post, he gets up for election and nobody ever runs against him because everybody just loves him. I mean, he's one of these guys that uh, he started as like an auto parts guy locally, and like everybody just loved him. And then he wanted to make a difference, and so he started volunteering, and then he started doing, he got his certificates and started doing counseling with the parole and probation board, and he's just like one of these great guys that everybody really loves. And I was telling him today, I'm like, dude, so the county confirmed to me that there is an investigation into this. And so I'm asking the question that I know I'm not going to get the answer to, because there's never an answer. What, who's investigating it? What are you investigating? What are the allegations? Is there a victim? If so, who? Because I've got all these rumors, right? And the conversation, as he kept going, Gavin, I will be transparent on this after the investigation. After the investigation, I'll be able to tell you this. And he's a person that I trust to do that. But I had the conversation with him and like, dude, the problem that everybody's going to have is that if there's no criminal if there's no criminal charges, if nothing comes of this, if it just is a an investigation for the sake of investigating, covering the county's butt, making sure the county attorney is okay, making sure they get approval for anything they say from the county solicitor. No, that's not going to fly. So I mean that losing the public trust is always ends up being worse than what the crime was anyway, right?
Hmm.
Like I don't want to be like belittle the crime, but had if some horrible thing happens in government and the investigating agency comes forward and says this is the horrible thing that happened, people will be outraged that the county let something like that happen. But
Oh, yeah.
they are more outraged if there's a cover up after the
Hmm.
fact. And yeah, so that's my little soapbox today. I've been digging into that one all day long.
Well, you know that case that I had talked to you about? I think it was the last time I was on your show. And um, it was about the Gallagher case. Okay. So, what had happened was they felt that every time they would get a defense attorney, and it's not just that case, it's something that I've seen here in this area a lot. The defense attorney, like one guy that went to my church, he was charged with a very, very serious crime. And what they ended up doing, which I thought he was innocent from the very beginning of, they drug his case out a year and a half long. Okay.
Okay.
Never went to trial. He never went to trial, but every single time something would happen, they'd have a hearing or the next part in the process. I need more money. I need more money. This defense attorney that he got sucked every penny that him and his wife had ever worked for their entire lives. And then once he had sucked all the money that he had out, then they went to the extended family. Once they had sucked every penny that they could out of the extended family, a year and a half later, they dismissed all of the charges. I think what they ended up doing was getting him to sign some BS plea, and it didn't even have anything to do with the crime that they had originally charged him with. They they let him plea to uh, I don't know, something stupid that wasn't even related.
Yeah. Oh,
But
I hate that kind of stuff.
so that really looked to me like his defense attorney was working with the prosecutor. I mean, even the judge had to be aware of what was really going on here. Okay. Um, Now, this other case, big case that we've been looking at, whenever we go back and look at the several defense attorneys that this little fella had, that's exactly what it looks like. It looks like these defense attorneys were just taking this case to make sure that it went the way that the prosecutor wanted it to go, or even the judge. Even the judge. This young man, the very first prosecutor that was on his case, ended up going to prison. So he's in prison right now in a
Oh, is this the case where he's charged with murder, but it's like been 15 years?
yes, absolutely that's the case.
He's
I
been
don't want to give
facing a
away
murder charge for 15 years.
I don't want to give away anything specific or any strategy that case is going towards now, but they've got some help on that case now. And one
Good.
of the things, and just to give you a little look see at what we got coming, me and an attorney, a specific attorney, are going to start a consulting firm.
Oh, no way.
Yes, and we're going to cross over with the show.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
good for
Yes.
you. I love
Yes.
it. I
So we got
love
some
it.
legal services as well.
Awesome. Yeah, that kind of stuff. I mean,
It's
it does
awful.
yeah, it does feel like sometimes when you go like, well, I've never had a criminal charge, and I'm not going to go and commit a crime in order to have the experience. But from a observer's point of view, it does feel in the courtroom, even if everything's on the up and up, it does feel like it's kind of a fraternity in there. You know,
Yeah.
the judge and the prosecutor buddies, the criminal defense attorneys, they have good relationships with the prosecutors, and they build those up so that they can negotiate in good faith. And maybe they went to the same law school, or maybe they're in the same Elks Lodge or something. You know, it's like, because these little places, it does feel a little buddy buddy sometimes. And it feel sometimes I just feel like there should be a fight sometimes, right? And like, and I'm not going to accuse anybody of especially in my area, of doing anything wrong, because again, these are a lot of people that I really admire. But in the county that I live in, the DA and the first assistant public defender are brothers.
Hmm.
Like, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it does kind of seem like when they go up against each other that maybe maybe there's something there, you know. Of course, it could go the other way too. Maybe they're just super competitive, and so they go after, I don't know, but yeah. Hey, you told me that there are new videos out on the Mullins case.
The witness videos, yeah. So they have released four, I think it was. We watched them right before we came on your show. Um, the three people that were in the judge's chambers that were sitting there, yep. those three that are sitting on the other side of the desk, the lady, the man that's sitting down, and then the woman who's sitting in the windowsill, all three of those have given their well, it gave little portions of their interviews. It didn't give the whole thing. And then there was a fourth little girl who works in, or she did work in Judge Mullins's courtroom, but she doesn't. We don't never see her on any of these videos. She wasn't hanging out in the chambers.
So are these interviews like on body worn camera kind of stuff, or are they in an interrogation room? What are they like?
They've just went into a side room somewhere, it looks like, and Trotter, the same one that we see his body cam in the hallway,
Hmm.
he's the one who does the interviews. But I have to tell you, I found them very strange. All three of these people who are sitting in the judges' chambers right here, for all three of their interviews, they all kind of said the same things, like used the same word. It just kind of rang like they had talked before they went in for their interviews, you know.
Yeah.
The little girl who's sitting there in the chair, she says at one point, "Well, I don't know if this is relevant, but I'm going to tell you anyway." And then what she went to go on to tell blew me away. Number one, the way she said it. First of all, like, I don't know if this is relevant. Well, honey, that was the biggest part of the entire thing.
It's relevant.
Yeah. And why would, like, I know
What did she
I'm
say?
real critical. She said that while they were at the lunch, that Mickey leans back and shows his gun on his hip, and that the preacher man says, "Well, that's an awful big gun you got there, Mickey," and said that it looked like the serial numbers were filed off,
Are
and
you
said,
serious?
yes, and said, is it hot? Meaning, is it stolen? Like, unbelievable. Unbelievable. And I don't know if this is relevant, but I'm going to tell you anyway. And the way that she says it was kind of like, just in case nobody else tells you, I'm going to. You know,
That
that was kind
Mickey's gun could have been hot. It could have been a hot gun, an illegal gun.
of, well, and one of our viewers said they went and grabbed their gun and looked to see where their serial numbers were.
Yeah.
If Michael could have seen the serial numbers filed off of it, you know, from where it was at in his holster, and they
Yeah.
said there was no way that somebody could have seen theirs on theirs. Now, I don't know if the numbers are the same place on all
It's
the.
pretty common like underneath. It's on the upper. How would I say this? Okay, so on my firearm, um, the bottom piece is made out of basically plastic, and then and it's got injection molded all the metal pieces in it. So it's the handle, it's the trigger guard, it's the trigger, and it's like the top
On
bottom
the
part
slide.
of the slide, and
Mm-hmm.
then the metal part of the slide and the barrel and everything goes on that, right? So mine is on the underside of that plastic. There is a metal badge that is injection molded into that. They call it a polymer, but it's plastic. And then it's engraved onto that. So if it's in a holster, you're not seeing the serial
So
number.
So that's just very odd. Now, um, I will say that somebody had reached out to me right not long after the shooting happened, and they said, "I've got a tip for you." Said, "I got a real good tip for you," and they said that, I think I told you. Said that whenever they were at the lunch, that Mickey had disarmed one of his deputies or court security officers or whoever was there, that he had went to give him a bear hug, and that he pulled his gun out of his holster, I guess, or something, and said that he opened it up and said, "Oh, look how dirty your firearm is," and then said that he pulled his open and looked at his and said, "Well, but mine's dirty too," and said that he cleaned them up and then put and then went to give his to the other guy and then take
Try
the
to
other guy,
swap it.
and the guy caught it and said, "No, Mickey, that's mine. You're putting mine in your." He was like, and
Dude,
so
that is
he was like,
weird.
"Oh, sorry."
All of that is weird. Okay, so he's trying to swap guns. Dude, I wouldn't I wouldn't let if I were a deputy sheriff, I would not let my sheriff's hands on my firearm at all. And there would never be a reason for him to do that unless I'm like turning it in for some reason, right? That like that is odd. That is
Now,
super
I haven't
strange.
confirmed that. And I didn't report it whenever it was first told to me because I didn't know how to confirm that, you know. So
Yeah.
I didn't want to report it and it not be, accurate. But whenever we heard this in the interview about the serial numbers, I was like,
Okay,
hmm.
so she said on the interview that the serial number was, well, the preacher man said something about, is it
Hmm.
hot? To
And the
me, that,
preacher man said that he saw, I guess he was the one who supposedly saw the serial numbers,
so that is an indication to me that it wasn't in the holster. If he saw it. Okay, so, and
which could have been whenever he was cleaning it. Could have been. I
could have
don't
been.
that was when I was kind of putting that together. Could that have happened?
Yeah,
Could
so
that
the
be true?
things that I've noticed, just like looking at photos of guns where serial numbers have been taken out, um, there's usually like file marks. They
Ah.
like they don't like take the serial number off and then polish it up all nice and clean and everything. First of
Mm-hmm.
all, you can usually see the file marks on the polymer if it's the type of gun that I have. I have a Smith and Wesson 9, but the same thing on like Glock, the regular Glock 20s, and they're all about the same, right? In order to get the file to take off that serial number, you're going to hit the polymer,
So he could have
and
seen
it
that.
leaves gouges. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean anybody who is around handguns would notice that if they saw it, right? It's something that's just like that's wrong. It just
Mm-hmm.
it just kind of come out. Now
Mm-hmm.
there are other guns like 1911s that are fully metal, Desert Eagles, things. I think. Well, now I'm second guessing myself on the Desert Eagle, but like, like a 1911 is a fully metal semi-automatic weapon that some police officers really like. That one's a
Mm-hmm.
little bit different. Serial numbers on. I don't think that Mickey had himself like a um, like a what do you call that, the like a revolver, like an old west revolver or something like that. I was trying to come up with what the thing is. It's the army single action, but yeah, my guess is he handled something that was polymer. He carried something that was polymer
Well, something else that they said too was that Mickey didn't have his gun on him all day that day until right before lunch.
until lunch. So is that an
And then
indication to you that he was looking for the opportunity?
maybe I didn't notice it myself until I was on court TV the other night, and Mr. King, one of the other guests,
Hmm.
he noticed it, and he said, at that point in time where they all start to come out for lunch, and you see Mickey go into the back it looks like he goes to the sheriff's department. I mean, which we don't know. We don't know whether he went to the sheriff's department or whether he could have went to his truck even. I mean, his
Hmm.
truck was parked out there. But Mr. King said, could he have went and gotten it then, and then met them all down there at the lunch? That was a possibility. People had said that in the video, it shows like 12:07 on the clock, and that it shows Mickey in the seat, and that he has it on his side then. So I'm not sure what time, which those weren't given to us in chronological order. So I'm not sure
Yeah.
what.
Are you talking about this video or another video?
No, it would have been 12:07 on the clock. That one there's almost 3 o'clock.
Oh, yeah. I can't remember which one that is. Yeah,
Um,
I got to get my hands on all the good stuff that you have. Little Miss going on court TV all the time. Are you doing it again tonight?
uh-huh. Yeah,
Oh my,
mine.
guys, is it on Vinny's show again?
Yeah,
How many
yeah.
times have you been on the show now?
On Vinny's, maybe 7 or 8,
Oh my goodness,
maybe.
I've been on once.
Ah, that's all right.
Listen,
You go on with Joel more than me, though.
you do you like him?
I love Joel. I
He's pretty great. Yeah.
love
Um,
his mom.
yeah. One of the proudest moments of my life is when Carm made me an honorary mensch on, on the show. I was like, yes. That's really funny. I love Carm. That's funny. Well, what else happened in those interviews, though? I mean, there were three
Um,
interviews. What else came out of that?
it was 4. The lady, I'll give you something that just blew me out of the water. And it's just strange. The whole thing is strange. Okay. And here's something else. Let me say this too before I forget. Here is why I think that Ned Pillersdorf could have actually absolutely named Judge Mullins in that civil lawsuit in his official capacity, because I think that all of these videos that we're seeing of the shooting, the day of the shooting, show that the judge created an atmosphere and an environment of hangout. Like those were his chambers, but that looks to me, between the smoking room and the judge's chambers, it's a hangout spot.
Yeah.
That's a hangout spot. And I don't necessarily think that Ben was the only one that had access to those quarters. If Ben, you know what I'm saying? Like, if Ben was doing it, who else was going in there doing all that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, but that's my little pet peeve with why, and then Ben Fields's wife, it was told to all of the house arrestees, you pay your fee at the jail. You go down to the jail, and they paid Ben's wife. She was the one on almost all of those receipts. It was her name on the bottom of that. It wasn't Ben's name. It was her name on those
Yeah. And she
house.
wasn't contracted for that. She wasn't
No.
part of it.
Nope, nope, nope. But so that's my pet peeve with, they could have named the jailer, and they could have named Judge Mullins in that lawsuit in their official capacities. Now, I think that Ned's reasoning would work for if they had named him in his personal capacity.
Hmm.
That they had to have a good faith basis to do that. I think that flies all day long with individual capacity, but as professional, or I mean official capacity, he's the one. Those were his chambers, and he's the one who is, that sets the tone, the environment, and who all comes in and for what reason, and
Yeah.
go on. Um, but so what really struck me very strange was the woman that was sitting up in the windowsill there.
Yeah.
The lady sitting up there in the windowsill. Now, she works in Judge Mullins's courtroom.
Okay.
I don't know what she is. I don't know if she's a clerk or what, but I think she sits, in there doing something. And so whenever it's her turn for her interview, she says, "Oh, he was my best friend. Oh, Judge Mullins was my best friend." And she just goes on, and it's kind of like, ooh, best
Hmm.
friend. Like it. I don't know. Like she ain't going hanging out with them on the weekends and stuff. I don't think. But I could be wrong. I don't know. The whole thing is just so strange. The way that the relationships all are. Like, not one person in the entire county, not one community leader, not one elected official came out and after Ben's pled guilty and said, "We will not, stand for this in our county. Our citizens are not going to be done this way." I mean, there was nothing said. Nothing. They didn't address anything because then they gave Ben's wife a promotion and put her right in the courtroom. So if they had come out and said anything about that, how are they going to justify promoting his wife? And my big question on that is Ben then on her medical insurance?
Oh yeah, is he a beneficiary of the county? Probably. That's probably.
Probably.
Yeah, probably. Um, Hang on just a second. Let's see what kind of questions we have here. I want to. I've one of the questions that keeps on happening. People keep asking is. It sounds like I have a lisp. Does it sound like I have a lisp right now?
You got a
My
piece of cake in your mouth.
well, I've got like a cough drop. I've had this cough for like 2.5 weeks now. That is why. That is why I sound weird, guys. I have issues. Issues. All right. Looks like we've got a couple things. Roz, thank you very much for the super chat. Appreciate that. Cherry and Max says, "Hi Elizabeth, love you and Gavin." We're getting lots of love today. One man's trash with the super chat. Thank you very much. Susan Lewis, I think I've said before that if someone tried to sell this as a movie script, it would be turned down as unrealistic. Yeah,
Good one.
it might be an episode of like Dukes of Hazzard or something like that, but not like a serious. I don't think a serious director would take it on. I think you're right. Uh, Tabiz TV says, I truly believe that this case goes deeper than we can imagine. Mullins' connection to Robinson, wait a minute, who's Robinson?
Tim Robinson is the ARC founder.
Okay, yep, Robinson's connection with Michael Clark, who was with Mickey that day. It's a lot to unpack.
And think about this too. If Mickey started talking, right? If Mickey knew a lot of things, this goes all the way to the governor, y'all. This goes all the way to the governor and our attorney general. Tim Robinson went to law school with our attorney general. So when
It's a little club.
So whenever the Medicaid fraud investigation happened, the Attorney General's office had to recuse themselves because he went to law school with Robinson, and the FBI had to come in. Now that was last year, and we still have not heard anything. And the way that, like I said, the way that the FBI has already established a pattern with these cases, I don't think that there will be anything come of the ARC investigation.
Hmm. Megan Maxwell, glad you made the live. You have good taste. Elizabeth is rad. Mooney, thank you very much. A little help for the channel. You guys, yeah, I don't know if you and I are both busy on our channels, but for the last 3 weeks, I've had each Wednesday the most amazing guest. Her name is Anna Sonoda, and we've been talking about how to keep our children safe from predators. And I just decided we're not monetizing them. We're going to say all the words YouTube does not want us to say. And this month I've taken a pretty big hit. So, and it's been totally worth it because the stuff that she's taught us has just been amazing. But Mooney, thank you very much for helping. Let's see if there's any other in here. Lots of lurkers. Dom's mom says, I love it when you collab with Elizabeth. Her insight into these people and this whole story is invaluable. Yeah, and if you haven't subscribed to Elizabeth, you guys need to go do it. Robin Bernardi for 6 months. Good on you. Royal Order of the Frank. By the way, I don't know if you know this, Elizabeth, but I have been inducted into the Royal Order of the Frank. I I, I haven't received my certificate yet, Frank. It'll go right next. It'll be back here when I get my certificate. But we are co-members of the Royal Order of the Frank. Okay, what the heck
Awesome.
would yeah, what the heck would be the point of switching guns or filing the serial numbers off if you'll be on video? What do you think about that?
I'm wondering if he may have forgotten because it probably wasn't something that was talked about a whole lot. I don't know, but I doubt he forgot. I don't know. They have more video of the hallway where they're out in the hallway with him, and Trotter asks him what happened. And he was all caught up on wanting to talk to his daughter and wanting to see his daughter. And they're like, well, we can't get them up here. And he's like, well, Lashana and Christine said they were here, said they were out there. Now, those are the two women who worked at the sheriff's department with Mickey.
Hmm.
And um, he just, I don't know. He goes on and on about that. And then Trotter says, well, what happened? And he was like, well, how am I supposed to know? It was chaotic up here. How am I supposed to know that? And he said, well, what about the judge? What happened to the judge? And he's like, yeah, how am I supposed to know? And I'm like, uh,
So maybe to Frank's question, like maybe
and
he
something
just was
else.
like had a full on psychotic break.
Well, and something else too. They say they go to read him the Miranda warning, and
Yeah.
he's like, "Here, I gotta read you." And he's like, "What's that?" And he's like, your Miranda rights, the Miranda warning." And he's like, "What is that?" Buddy, you've been working in law enforcement so long, and I don't know. I don't know if I mean, I've had some emotional breaks in my lifetime, but I don't think that I would then say, somebody say, oh, well, Alan's in here, and me say, well, who's Alan? I'm not going to forget that that's my child, even
Yeah.
if some of
So I mean, I'm a professional waffler. I go back and forth on my opinions. That's part of
I
my
do too.
profession. Okay.
I do too.
So we've had this conversation multiple times, but what do you think about Mickey? Was he acting or was he honestly in a just weird, like mental health crisis?
Well, we got different options. Was he was he on something? Was he just having some kind of a no sleep induced psychotic break? Um, this is something else I have, a question I have. Like during those witness interviews of those people, they all used the same word, odd, that he was acting odd. Um,
Pillersdorf used that word.
mm-hmm, yeah. Um, I don't know, the way that whenever you hear it, you listen to it and tell me what
Okay.
you think.
All
It
right.
just kind of, it just sounds like it was like they had talked before they gave their thing.
It was some
Which
coordinated effort. Okay.
I mean, they maybe not. Like it
Yeah.
could be, they could have already had talked about him acting odd. Like that was that was what I was getting ready to say. If he had been acting all day that day, how we see him in those videos, wouldn't somebody have recognized that
Yeah. I
earlier?
think Mickey might be having a stroke. Everybody call the ambulance. Yeah. Yeah.
You
I
know what I'm
mean,
saying?
absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
nobody said anything?
If a
Nobody.
coworker of mine was talking the way that Mickey was talking on that body cam video, we would be going to the hospital.
Earlier
100%.
that day, right? Like it
Yeah.
I'm sure that this all didn't just come out because everybody has said already that he was acting strange for up to like 3 weeks prior to this, we've heard. I don't know exactly, when it started, but we've heard all the way up for 3 weeks. So if he was acting this way and what we see on those videos, everybody else knew him better than we did. They worked with him every single day.
Yeah.
I, I know his aunt was begging him to go see the doctor. She said she was begging him, and he did go the day before this happened. And they told him to take Benadryl, allegedly.
Hmm.
And so I don't know. It's just very strange to me that nobody caught this before this happened.
Well, when I see that video, for most of it, it feels like it's an act. But then we get to the point where he's looking around corners in the stairwell and he's like afraid of an elevator. And I'm sitting there going, that looks like a child being afraid of, something that they don't, I don't know. It looks like trying to put a child on a roller coaster or something like that. They're that's what, and so Like,
Like my dog trying to push him in the bathtub.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, trying to get a dog in a bathtub. That's exactly, yes. So when I watched the whole video, I'm like, oh, come on, man. You're not fooling anyone until the elevator and then the stairwell. Dude, he looks like that looks genuine to me. So I waffle back and forth on that. But you're absolutely right. If he was at lunch grabbing a deputy's gun, showing, I don't know, like, I'm not using the right word here, but displaying a gun to the point where somebody recognizes that the serial number is filed off, then um call an ambulance. This guy is having a medical emergency.
Or call somebody.
Yeah.
Somebody. Anybody. I know that he was the sheriff, but if they had called, like if they noticed, if anybody would have noticed and had had any kind of fear, they could have called the Whitesburg Police Department. They were in
Yeah.
the city of Whitesburg. Our Whitesburg chief could have come up there. Like they all knew each other well enough. He could have come up there to the line, to the street side, and sat and talked to him and just see what he thought.
Yeah.
And that I just feel like there is such a culture of no questions, no questions asked. That just if anybody in power says anything, does anything, it's just turn a blind eye. And
Yeah.
that's the problem that we have with bad cops. That's what I always say when we have people say, "Oh, well, we've got good cops too." How many times have those good cops stood right there and watched those bad cops do something stupid or do something bad, and they didn't do anything? They didn't approach that cop and say, "Hey, you need to back up or slow down or whatever." We have, I think that there is a duty within law enforcement that if you see one of your coworkers whooping somebody or behaving in some kind of form of misconduct, it's your duty as a good police officer to step in and de-escalate, or at least try and stop it, bring some attention to it. But we don't never see that. It's that thin blue
Yeah.
line.
Well, and it's also a little bit of human nature. I mean, how many of us will see something going on and we say to ourselves, man, I do not want to get involved in that. Turn around and walk the other way. There might be a little bit of that too. Yeah.
I grab my phone, baby. I start recording.
Well, yeah, you shared a couple things with me this week, right? I was actually really impressed that you did that. That's
Listen, I will take a punch in the nose any day as long as I get my phone out real
well, I I honestly think that, like, all
quick.
joking aside, video does keep honest cops honest, and it shines a light on bad cops. 100%.
That female state cop I sent to you before.
Yeah. What happened to that woman? Did she end up being arrested?
I think the title on it, it says that she was at the unemployment office, so she might have lost her job. I don't
Yeah.
know.
What Elizabeth is talking about here is a video of a Kentucky state trooper, a female trooper, that was full on in like a junior high kind of fight with somebody holding the camera in a car, like it was a traffic stop.
Traffic stop.
It felt like it was junior high, except that she was armed. That's the thing. That's the thing there.
And she had two male state police officers behind her that were backing her 1,000%.
Yeah, pretty crazy. Let's see what else people are saying here. Hopefully, we answered you there, Frank. Um, is the defense or prosecution bothered by all the videos that are being released? What do you think about that?
I don't know. I was very surprised that we got any of this stuff. Were you?
Well, I've always kind of suspected that it's the Bartleys that are kind of behind the videos coming out because I feel like it works better for their client. But I don't know. That's just a wild guess. I have no idea. Anything that
Well,
shows that his mental state wasn't there bodes well for Mickey, especially if they're trying really hard to keep this case in Letcher County. Like they want a Letcher County jury.
if they were going to request a change of venue, they would have had to have put in for it a long time ago. They couldn't do it now, is what a lawyer told me. They would have had to have at least started the process a while back.
Hmm.
Um, so I don't know about that. But a couple of these networks said that they got theirs from the state police.
Oh, really?
That's who the public records requests were through, was the state police. So I think it's actually the state police that are putting these out.
Okay, so I need to. I keep threatening to do that, like go and get the files, but I get so wrapped up in
Really?
my day job. Yeah, you can't
I
really
know.
see this. I'm sorry. Polly says, Gavin and Elizabeth, please cover the Dustin Fields case. Have you covered the Dustin Fields case at all?
I have not.
I
Dustin Fields, is that the teenager that just got found innocent or not guilty? The preppy murder case? I don't know.
I don't either. Let me see. Case against Kentucky father accused of setting fire to a house that killed his sons 13 and 15.
Oh, I hadn't heard about this case.
I hadn't
Send it
either. There you
hillbillycrime@gmail.com.
go. Yeah. Uh, let's see. Oh, Robin Bernardi says I only have a lisp when I say lisp. um, let's see. Yes, I saw the super chat, Tabez. Thank you very much. You're awesome. Robin says so. Like maybe somebody slipped Mickey a Mickey. Ah, but don't. Robin's on. She's on a roll tonight. She's on a roll. Word Sleuth 992. Can Elizabeth give us a backstory on who she is? Yes, let's do that for the benefit. My channel has been growing a lot. There are a lot of people that really don't know who you are. And I did a horrible job of introducing you, just assuming everybody knows who you are. Give us a little backstory.
Okay, well, thanks for even asking. So, well, I'm old. I'm almost 50 years old now. Me and Gavin are about the same age. Um, but I am a recovering addict, I guess is the best way to start. Um, I struggled with a whole lot of childhood traumas and stuff. A lot of the stuff that we talk about on these shows, I was a victim of as well. And as a young adult, I had a doctor prescribe me some pain pills, and it was a dentist actually. Every time I would get a tooth filled, he'd give me 12 Lorcet plus 7.5s with 3 refills. And
Wow.
for just getting my teeth cleaned, he would give them to me. And I realized, man, I can take 2 of them and clean my whole house. I got enough energy to clean my whole house. And I got hooked on them. And that was in the late 90s. It was right around the time Oxycontin hit. And
Yeah.
I was slow to that, getting on to that, but I eventually did. And I struggled really, really hard. My mom sent me to a 30-day rehab when I was 18, just for Mary Jane. I wasn't
Hmm.
even doing anything back then, but I finished 30 days of rehab. I ended up going to 30-day rehab, and I finished them all like 4 or 5 different times as an adult. But I always fail. I'd come home and I'd do well for a little while, and then life would happen. Something would happen, and I would relapse. And I was old, 35, 36, when I had my 2 children. And my mom said, and I knew that if I didn't do something this time, I had 2 babies that weren't going to have a mother, and the system would end up taking my kids if I didn't, change something. So mom said there's a new treatment out called Suboxone. So I tried Suboxone treatment, and here I am 15 years later. I've never relapsed since. I started college after
Yeah, I was going to say,
I
tell them about your education. I mean, that's
yeah,
pretty impressive.
I started college after my treatment, after I'd been doing good maybe 3 or 4 years, and I kept going down to Whitesburg. All these people that we're talking about in these cases, I kept going down there, and I was like, look at me. Look at me. Look what Suboxone did for me, and nobody wanted to talk about medically assisted treatment then. It was all abstinent. They
Cold
wanted
turkey.
abstinent, yep, everything. And I was a big advocate for the MAT treatments. I had tried abstinence, for 20 years, and I failed every time. I could not do it. Um, and so I kept trying to get these people down there to use me as an asset, and they just made fun of me and kept me at arm's distance. I did my master's thesis. There we go. Let's go back. So I graduated with my associate's degree in law enforcement because I had had so many horrendous experiences with our legal system, and I wanted to work in it. I wanted to help change it. And so I went back down with my associate's degree, and they laughed at me again. And I was like, okay, well, that's not enough. So I'm going to go back. So I went back and I graduated magna cum laude with my bachelor's degree with full honors. Um, with my bachelor's in criminal justice, and I took it back down there, and they still laughed at me and wouldn't listen to nothing I had to say. So I said, I'm going to go back again. So I went for my master's, and I kept a 4.0 all the way through school. And when I graduated, I went right back down there with a master's, and they still laughed at me and pushed me away. And so I that was really hard. That was really, really, really hard to take, but there was nothing I could do. I just had to give it up. So I went on and got an insurance license, and I did insurance for a while, and I did really, really well. And I lost my job one day, and I thought, but they were still paying me like I was on leave. They, whatever you
Hmm.
call it, they were still paying me. I got laid off. Sorry, that's the word. And I thought, well, I'm going to work on my YouTube channel. I want to try this true crime stuff. 2 weeks later, Mickey shot Kevin, and my channel took off like crazy, and the rest is history.
Yeah, and you're doing really good stuff.
I
Yeah,
hope that
so
wasn't crazy.
that's a terrific backstory. And guys, again, there's a link in the description. Go and subscribe to her channel. A couple more. What time do we need to get you out of here? It's been about an
um,
hour. Pretty soon, right?
that's okay. It's 8:41. The show don't start till 9.
Okay, real quick. Curious if Elizabeth has an opinion on the Jason Ellis case out of Bardstown, and is this KSP scandal have anything to do? Does the KSP scandal have anything to do with it?
Listen, my own personal opinion, I think the Jason Ellis case has to do with the Hawk case. Um, Brooks Hawk and Joseph Lawson were just convicted of murdering Crystal Rogers.
Yeah.
That's a big case. And Jason Ellis is from the same town. There were several unsolved murders in that town. It wasn't just Jason Ellis. There was a school teacher and her daughter that were also murdered in their home, and those are still unsolved. I think they're all related.
Wow. Okay, Denise, would you be sleeping well if you thought there was a hit out on you? That's
True.
an interesting question. Yeah, I would. Uh, This is one of those questions like I one of the big cases that I did in the very beginning on YouTube was the Amanda Winkowski case. It's still a case that I care deeply about. Amanda, like the man who I believe killed her is in jail in Elmira, New York, and will be getting out here in about a year. And everybody is like, "Are you afraid that he's going to find you?" No, I am not afraid of those things. Like, he would be stupid to come to my town and like, the reason there are no breaking and entering and burglaring in my area of town? Because everybody is freaking armed. You would have to be stupid to go after anybody here. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I like to that that's what I think
I got
anyway.
big dogs. I got three big dogs,
There you
and
go.
mm,
Um, Word salute, Gavin. You've been forcing your kids on roller coasters again. Caught me. I would have got away with it too if it weren't for you viewers. Rosa says, Gavin, you're learning hillbilly calling preacher man instead of name. I love it. You got to work with the twang though. Yeah, I need to work on my twang. That's true. The preacher man. Well, as you say preacher man every time, I've wondered if that is a Southern thing. The, I mean, when you talk about somebody who is a pastor or a priest or a leader of a church of some sort, is what you call them? Do you call them preacher man? Yeah.
usually, yeah, yeah.
Billy Ray was a preacher's son. That's all I can think of. Uh, okay, yeah. I turned 50 this year. In October, I turned 50. I think I've got everybody. JoJo's Crime Lines and Mysteries goes, tell Elizabeth we are all very proud of her, very appreciative of her time being here with us. And we are. We're very appreciative. Thank you, Elizabeth, for coming by. I'm going to let you go so you can, I don't know, get a drink of water, take a breath, do something before you have to be on court TV. Those little appearances stress me out. Anytime I've done anything like that, it's uncomfortable for me. So good on you for doing that.
It's very different than how me and you do our shows,
Yeah,
for
people
sure.
don't know the like the interaction that you have with producers and the whole
Mhm.
setup and everything. It's not just a little thing. It's kind of a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So there's Elizabeth Jones. That's what we're talking about, the KSP, and I will check out those videos. I'm sorry that I didn't get a chance to do it before we started today, but Elizabeth's been sharing everything with me, sending stuff. I will check them all out. And remember, guys, there's a link in the description below. Hillbilly Crime. Go and what is the word I'm looking for? Subscribe. Go and subscribe. Okay. Thanks, Elizabeth. Thanks for coming on. We'll see you.
Thanks, babe. Bye.
Bye bye. Hey guys, just one more quick. Isn't Elizabeth just the best? She is absolutely the best. We love having her on, and if we could have her on every day, I think I would still do that. Let me just grab a couple of, yeah, okay. Before we go, I want to just one more time bring you on over to the website and remind you about the great 2025 Baby Gavin treasure hunt. I hope it's going to be fun, and I really, really hope that the technology that I built and tested doesn't break. You guys are going to have to be really patient if it does. I promise I will do my best to address any bugs in the system as we go along. The other thing that I wanted to bring up to you, it was over in the fish tank. Um, Melissa Hannah Garvey brought up that there has been an announcement about an upcoming Hulu documentary. It's produced by Ellen Dakota Fanning. It's directed by a woman named Nancy Schwartzman, who is terrific. Uh, I, I just wanted to I know a lot of people are going to wonder about this. This documentary is being done with the participation and blessing of Josh and Sandy Greenberg. I was invited to participate. I elected not to do that. So if you guys are hoping to see me in that documentary, you're not going to see me there because I decided that it wasn't for me. But I really want you to be on the lookout for that documentary because the case still isn't, it still, it still isn't, resolved. It still isn't resolved. And Ellen's case is a very, very important case to me. So I just wanted to bring that up to you guys. Invite you one more time. Hang out with us on the Fish Tank on Facebook. Just search the Fish Tank and you'll find us there. Or if you're on my website, you can click this little fishy and that will take you to the Fish Tank. One other thing, you guys have been so supportive of me. Did you know that my volunteers don't get paid? My mods, they don't get paid. If you would click on the support me tab on my website, scroll all the way to the bottom. And if you feel so inclined, and if you're able to do it, no pressure, no guilt, no anything. But Autumn is our mod wrangler and oftentimes our wrangler of commenters. She does a terrific job. Please, please, please take care of Autumn if you can by buying her a coffee. With that, guys, I will bid you adieu. Plan is to be back here again tomorrow night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. I've got a couple of cases that so I'm not sure what we're going to talk about tomorrow, but I've got like 3 cases in parallel where we've got some updates. So I think we'll be back tomorrow, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Until then, please take care of yourselves, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below.